Hi everyone. My name is Olga. I work at JetBrains in Developer Experience Research team. Today, I will tell you what we have learned from thousands of professionals about developer experience and developer productivity within their companies. So I will tell you what we have learned from developers themselves, from the tech managers, and also what we have learned about AI. My goal and our goal for today is to explore the current state of developer productivity and developer experience in various companies. Do companies pay attention to satisfaction with tools? Are developers okay with being measured? Who is supposed to be responsible for these measurements of developer experience and developer productivity within the companies? What are tech managers' pain points? And how AI is influencing developer productivity or is supposed to influence it. At the end of the talk, I will share with you a link to our research, our report based on this research, with all the insights and detailed information, and even with the raw data that you can play with. And you will be the first one who will be able to access these materials. So, at JetBrains, we run our own large-scale annual survey. It is called Developer Ecosystem Survey. And it's been running since 2017. And in 2025, we got more than 200,000 respondents from all around the world, from 194 countries. So starting from 2017, we asked developers throughout the years about various topics. We started asking them about programming languages, tools, and technologies. Then we added some questions about developers' lifestyle and some fun questions like whether you are a night owl or the morning person. By the way, who here thinks that you are a night owl? Raise your hands. And who are here the morning person, so-called? Yeah, thank you. You are in my team. I'm also the the morning person. Well, when COVID outbroke, we added questions about developers' well-being because we wanted to find out how they are feeling, what's going on with them. And of course, afterwards, after the COVID, everything has happened with the AI, all the hype. So we wanted to understand what is going on in this topic. So we added questions about AI adoption. And in 2024, we added questions that were we added a section to the survey that was solely dedicated to developer experience and developer productivity. So we as researchers saw that how developers are working is changing. So we had some hypotheses that we wanted to check, to test, and that's why we were asking developers quite a lot of questions about what is going on with their developer experience and developer productivity within their companies. And today I'm going to share results based on this section of developer ecosystem survey. So for this section in 2025, we got more than 6,000 responses from developers worldwide and more than 2,000 respondents from their tech managers. Most of these people have more than 3 years of professional coding experience, and almost 40% of them work for huge companies or enterprises with 500 plus employees, and around 2/3 of them work for companies with 50 plus employees. So I hope the data I'm going to share with you today would be relevant for you as well. And since I'm going to share with you a lot of figures and numbers, I suppose it might be at some point a bit complicated to understand them or maybe overwhelming. But don't worry, I did my job. I tried to digest all the insights we got. So just bear with me. I hope at the end you will receive some useful insights based on our data. So what have we learned? I will build my talk around 2 key human personas. It's developers and tech managers. And I will also talk about the new reality, the AI, and how it is changing developers' workflows. So from developers' perspective, we would find out how do they see which factors influence their developer productivity and their experience? How are they feeling about being measured? And what is going on with their satisfaction with the tools? From tech managers' perspective, we would find out what are the most common metrics and frameworks and measures they are using to track developer productivity and developer experience, who is actually responsible for developer productivity and developer experience within the companies, and we will also speak about pain points. And speaking about AI, we will find out what's the current level of AI adoption around the world, and what developers actually want from AI once they have already tried it. So let's start with developers. There are tech factors that influence developer productivity. These are connected with the tools, so how responsive tools are, how stable they are, so everything around the tools. And there are, of course, non-technical factors that are as much, we think they are as much important as tech factors are. And these factors have almost nothing to do with tools. It's more about company processes, about job design, how people feel and what they think. So it is logical to assume that since we have two types of factors, technical and non-technical, that both of them would influence developer productivity and developer experience at some level. And we as psychologists thought that non-technical factors would have a bigger impact on developer experience because non-technical factors are more, because developer experience is more about how people feel, what they experience while working. At the same time, we thought that technical factors would have bigger impact on developer productivity because productivity is something about making things done with the help of tools. Turned out, everything is not as straightforward as we thought. So, non-technical factors such as clear communication, feedback, non-technical factors, they are really important for developer experience. So at this point, we were right. However, the same non-technical factors were as much important for developer productivity. If we speak about technical factors, turned out that they are important for productivity. So tools do matter, and we all know this. However, the same tools are really important for developer experience. So it turned out that according to developers, and from their perspective, tech factors and non-technical factors have almost the same influence on developer productivity and developer experience. And what does it matter for us? What does it mean for us? So it means that to enhance developer experience and developer productivity, we need to prioritize them both. So in other words, if you want to focus solely on developer productivity and you do not want to think about developer experience, well, I'm not here to judge you, but okay, if you just want to think only about developer productivity, it's worth it paying attention not only to the tools that your developers are using, but also to some context and job-related factors such as communicational patterns, team processes, feedback loops, and all this stuff. So let's speak about satisfaction with the tools now. Satisfaction with tools is actually the core component of developer experience. However, our data shows that almost half of developers say that their satisfaction with tools is not measured within their companies, or they are not aware whether it is measured. And when it is measured, it is mostly done informally and during spontaneous conversations. So, great developer experience is so desired. We all know that good and great developer experience leads to higher productivity, to satisfaction, and to developer happiness. And yet companies do not pay great attention to it. So what does it mean for us? If you'd like to improve your developer experience within your company, make sure that you are doing small but really important steps, that you are talking with your developers and that you are asking them about their satisfaction with tools. Because without this information, improving developer experience might become more harder task than it might have been. And now let's speak about feelings that developers might have when they are measured. So it's easy to assume that developers would feel uncomfortable when being measured. It's easy to assume so because, well, actually nobody enjoys being evaluated. But here's the good news. It turns out that most developers are generally okay with being measured, I assume that they are just get used to it. We do know that they have to fill out a lot of surveys regarding their developer experience and that their productivity is being tracked. So they just got used to it. And that means that only a small percentage of developers find it uncomfortable being measured. And when we talk to these developers who don't like this process, it turns out that it's not about the fact that they are being measured, but about how these measurements are done. So we ask developers whether they believe that the metrics that are currently used to measure their developer productivity and experience accurately reflect their actual contribution. And it turns out that almost 60% of developers are not sure about it. Just imagine, more than half of developers do not trust the metrics that are currently used within their companies to track their developer productivity and developer experience. Isn't it surprising? Like, I was really shocked when I found this out. It is a huge number. So this lack of confidence actually extends to how assessment data is used. Almost half of developers has told us that they do not know how gathered data would be used in further decision making. And when you do not know what will happen next, such measurements might be perceived as unfair and unwanted. So what does it tell us? It tells us that transparency and clarity really matters. And a lot of speakers here, Brian, Max, Elisa, yesterday, they told us that developers are still humans, and this is true. So it means that for humans, it is important to understand what is going on and what decisions would be made. Otherwise, if you do not provide them with this information, it may lead to some really bad consequences in the future, like low response rate. It's not that big consequence. However, feeling of being unfairly measured or being threatened by this measure are really huge demotivators for every person and for developers as well. So we asked developers, when we found out about this situation, we asked developers what might have helped them to feel more comfortable with being measured. And it turns out that developers want greater transparency and clarity of the processes, of these measurement assessment processes. They want to receive constructive feedback based on the results. And some of the developers want change of current methods and specific metrics that are used. So the main takeaway for us here is that clear communication and transparency are, as always, crucial. At least for now, when developers are still humans, but it does matter. And now let's talk about insights we got from tech managers. So when we speak about measuring developer productivity and developer experience, there are two most common and recognized frameworks that are used. These are DORA and SPACE. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about them at the summit, but if not, you can read all the materials with the help of these QR codes. So we asked tech managers who are involved in developer productivity and developer experience initiatives within their companies, which particular specific metrics from these frameworks they used to track developer productivity and experience within their companies. And it turns out that from DORA, two most frequently used metrics are deployment frequency and lead time for changes, while the top used metrics from the SPACE frameworks are satisfaction and well-being domain metrics. So there might be a lot of various particular metrics that you can apply within this domain of satisfaction and well-being, and performance metrics. So when it comes to measuring developer productivity and developer experience, we see that technical managers actually combine operational metrics from DORA and then with some more developer-centric metrics from SPACE frameworks. So they enhance operational metrics with developer-centric, more human-centric metrics. So if we continue talking about popular metrics that are used to measure developer experience and developer productivity, I cannot mention a research made by DX company. A while ago, they asked top tech companies about the metrics they are using in the daily life to track developer productivity and experience. And we decided to enrich these insights and to ask the same, and to ask our respondents to say which metrics from these used by top 18 tech companies they are applying in their daily work. So it turns out that traditional activity-based metrics are not that frequently used, and this is really good sign for us as developer experience researchers. Operational and process-oriented metrics are more widely adopted than traditional activity-based metrics. It is also a great sign. So it tells us that this developer experience and productivity domain is becoming more subtle topic for companies and not that straightforward. And that is good. And on the top of the list are developer-centric metrics, like developer satisfaction, developer engagement, and developer sentiment. And these three metrics, they focus on the human side, on the human aspects of developer experience and productivity. So what this means? We think that there is no universal approach, universal solution for all the companies how you should track developer experience and developer productivity, which metrics to use. But we do know that it is better to combine operational metrics with more human-centered ones. So now let's speak about the notorious question, who is responsible for developer productivity and developer experience initiatives within the company? And let's make a small field research. Please raise your hands, those of you who think that developers themselves should be responsible for such measurements. Nobody, thank you. Oh, one person. Great to know. Are you a developer? Yeah, you are a developer. Well, that's good. Who thinks that team leads should be responsible for such initiatives? Please raise your hands. Yeah, a bit more, like 10 people. And who think that some special dedicated roles should be introduced, like, I don't know, developer productivity engineers or developer experience engineers? Please raise your hands. Wow, it turns out that this one is among us at least, it is the most popular option. Well, it was a quite surprise for us, because developers say that team leads are actually responsible within their teams, within their companies, for their developer experience and productivity measurements. And tech managers agree with that. Well, isn't it surprising for the team leads? Well, it might seem to be a logical choice, because team leads work closely with developers. They know their pain points, they know their processes and workflows. But are team leads really ready to take on this responsibility? I mean, are they well equipped for this task? Do they have enough resources? Do they have real authority to influence company-wide decisions about developer experience and developer productivity? We also see that in larger companies, it is more often, in larger companies, there are dedicated specialists, and respondents, developers tell us that if they are coming from the large companies, that dedicated specialists are responsible for their developer experience measurements. While in smaller companies, it is more often developers themselves who has to measure their developer productivity. So for us, the main takeaway here is that if you don't have currently resources for dedicated specialists, and you still have to rely on team leads in all these developer experience and developer productivity initiatives, that's actually a trend of the industry. However, if you want to make this process more efficient, make sure that your team leads have enough resources and time to do this thoughtfully. And also, well, it is really great if you still rely on team leads that their initiatives are aligned within the company. So, and now let's speak about tech managers' pain points. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have felt them in your bones. So we asked tech managers, what are their companies doing ineffectively or what they are lacking in the field of developer experience and developer productivity. And it turns out that the top pain point is that developer productivity and developer experience aren't companies' priority. And here what they told us. Just take your time to read through and maybe feel related. The second group of pain points is that there are a lot of inefficient processes and outdated policies that are hindering developer experience and developer productivity initiatives. And here's once again what tech managers have told us. So from outdated workflows to bureaucracy, these inefficiencies, they actually lead to wasted time and block some meaningful progress. And last but not least is poor leadership and management practices. Well, it feels sad, but unfortunately it is true. So without leadership buy-in, developer productivity and DevEx efforts are scattered and inefficient. And unfortunately, we do not have a recipe here how to get this C-level buy-in and to promote developer experience as a priority for your company. And here, we actually need your input, folks. Like, I'm eager to know if you have managed to do this magic and to convince your managers that developer experience does matter, how you did it. Just come and find me and chat with me about it. I'm all ears. It's really interesting for us as researchers. And now let's talk about AI. So in 2024, it was like this. Like we all have some hopes about AI-assisted tools, and we all have some ideas how they would change developers' workflows. Just a year later, in 2025, AI-assisted tools are already the reality, and even AI agents are the reality. So please raise your hands, those of you who now is using at least one AI tool to support you in your daily work. Me too, like it's most of the audience. And it turns out that based on our 2025 data, 85% of developers now use at least one AI tool for coding and development activities. So its presence is shaping expectations for both developers and tech managers. So generative AI tools adoption is also seen as an important initiative to enhance developer productivity and developer experience. We had more than 10 various answer options for this question. So we asked tech managers what they see as important initiative to enhance developer productivity, and we had more than 10 various options. And top 3 are internal training, Gen AI tool adoption, and improving development processes and methodologies. And now let's find out what developers actually want from AI tools once they have tried it. So when we ask developers how they expect their workflows to change over the next 3 years, they pointed out that they actually don't want the full automation of their work, but they want to rebalance their time. And many expect AI to speed up learning, to take over repetitive or boilerplate tasks, and to generate initial drafts of code. As well, a lot of developers see AI as a way to spend more time on meaningful work, like problem solving and high-level design. And here are the top 5 areas in which developers want AI to help them. So developers have a vision of how AI tools may help them. And this is a great starting point for us, for those of us who want to enhance developer productivity with the help of AI. And by the way, how many of you have recognized this song and sung this song in your head? Every day in my code. So it is from Titanic. So let's sum it up. If someone asks you, what are the main takeaways from my talk today, like what it was about, I want you to tell that we found out that from developers' perspective, both technical and non-technical factors are really important for their developer productivity and developer experience. We also know that transparency and clarity of assessment process is really important. If measurements are done transparently and people understand what is going on and they receive some actionable feedback based on these measurements, then they are okay with such measurements. An improvement of developer experience is really tough task if you do not measure satisfaction with tools, and yet our data shows that most companies do not do this. So from tech managers' perspective, we learned that unfortunately developer experience and developer productivities initiatives are not often a priority for companies. We also know that when it comes to measuring developer productivity and developer experience, tech managers combine operational metrics from DORA with developer-centric ones from the SPACE framework. However, in most companies, team leads are still responsible, or at least expected to be responsible, for measuring developer experience and developer productivity. And what about AI? So most developers now use at least one AI tool for coding and development activities. And developers actually don't want AI to fully automate their work. They wanted to help them to free up time for some more meaningful work. So that was it. And now, as promised, you can scan this QR code to download the full report with all the detailed information and insights. And we would love to hear your feedback. So that was it. Thank you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I will be glad to chat with you about developer experience and developer productivity.